The sun was beginning to rise over the quiet settlement of Ejoko, a rural community tucked on the outskirts of Lagos. The morning mist still clung to the grass, and the roosters had not stopped their boastful crowing. In a small mud house near the edge of the village, a young man named Tunde wiped the sweat from his brow as he split firewood behind his mother's kitchen. Tunde was not rich, not even close. But what he lacked in wealth, he carried in determination. His father had died early, leaving behind only debts and an old bicycle. Still, Tunde refused to be crushed by hardship. He had one goal, one dream that kept him alive: Sarah. Sarah was the daughter of a petty trader. She was bright, graceful, and carried herself with a quiet dignity that drew people in. Tunde had loved her since childhood. When he saw how she struggled to pay her school fees, something in him decided he would help her finish school, no matter the cost. That evening, under the wide mango tree in front of Sarah's mother's house, the two sat side by side. The air smelled of roasted corn, and children played in the distance. "Sarah," he said, looking at her shyly, "one day you'll finish school, become a big lawyer, and we'll move to the city together." Sarah smiled softly. "Tunde, you always dream too big. Someone has to. And if I can't go to school, then I make sure you do." She laughed, shaking her head. "You? With what money?" He looked at his rough palms. "I'll find it. I'll work. You'll see." True to his word, Tunde began working longer hours. He carried bags at the local market, sold firewood, and later saved enough to buy a used motorcycle for commercial riding. Every week, he sent Sarah part of his earnings. Sometimes he ate only once a day so she could afford textbooks and hostel fees. Sarah tried to refuse at first, but love and gratitude softened her resistance. His sacrifices made her feel cherished, at least in the beginning. Time passed. Sarah went off to university in Lagos mainland. The first months were filled with calls, letters, and late-night messages. She would tell him about her lectures, about the noisy city, about her dreams of becoming a lawyer and changing lives. He would listen with pride, smiling even when he could barely afford phone credit. But as years went by, the calls became shorter. Sometimes, days passed without a word. When Tunde called, her voice carried a new distance. Still, he told himself she was busy, studying, chasing her future. He believed in her, even when his friends warned him. One evening, his friend Kola, who often drank palm wine with him, said, "Tunde, open your eyes. You're training a city girl. When she makes it, she won't look back." Tunde only smiled. Sarah is not like that. She remembers where she came from. Kola shrugged. "We'll see." Months turned into years. Sarah's final exams approached, and Tunde's joy knew no bounds. He borrowed money to send her a new phone as a graduation gift. When she called to thank him, he could hear laughter and chatter in the background. She told him she was attending a dinner with her classmates, and before he could say much, the call ended. Still, he waited for her. Every day after her graduation, he stood by the roadside whenever a bus arrived from Lagos, expecting to see her step down, smiling as always. But she didn't return immediately. When she finally did, nearly 3 weeks later, it was in a neat car borrowed from a colleague. She wore a sleek black suit, her hair perfectly done, and her English had grown sharper. The villagers gathered to welcome her, proud of their own daughter who had made it. Tunde's heart swelled when he saw her. He ran to meet her, smiling so wide his cheeks hurt. "My lawyer," he shouted. "Lagos no go no peace when you enter court oh." But Sarah didn't laugh. Her smile was polite, not warm. "Tunde," she said quietly, "I've changed. I'm not that village girl anymore." He blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" She adjusted her bag, her voice steady. "Things are different now. I'm starting my legal career soon. I can't be living like before." The words stung, but he brushed them aside. He thought maybe she was just tired, overwhelmed by success. So he gave her space. He continued working, saving, planning for the wedding he still believed would come. But the signs were clear: Sarah was slipping away. She stopped visiting the village as often. When she did, she came in cars with tinted windows, always in a hurry. Her laughter with him grew shorter, her eyes colder. One evening, Tunde sat outside his house holding her graduation picture. He whispered, "All I ever wanted was for you to fly. I just didn't know you'd fly without me." The crickets sang in the distance. The night was heavy with silence. Tunde had given everything, his sweat, his youth, his hope, for love. He didn't know that his greatest sacrifice was only the beginning of his deepest pain. Months passed after Sarah's return from school, and the distance between her and Tunde grew wider, like a river slowly eating away at its banks. She rarely came to the village anymore, always claiming she was too busy with her new job at a law firm in Ikeja. When she did visit, she came in high heels and perfume that smelled like the city, clean, expensive, unfamiliar. Tunde, on the other hand, still smelled of engine oil and sweat. He rode his motorcycle from dawn till dusk, carrying passengers and goods, just to pay off the debts he'd collected while sponsoring her. But no matter how tired he was, he still kept a little hope alive in his chest, that Sarah would come back to him. One evening, Tunde sat by the roadside stall where he often bought roasted plantain. Kola, his closest friend, joined him with a bottle of palm wine. "Tunde," Kola said carefully, "I saw Sarah last week in Ikeja." Tunde smiled faintly. "Oh, so you finally saw my wife-to-be. She's doing well, right?" Kola hesitated. "She was in a restaurant, with one man. Dressed sharp." They looked close. The roasted plantain suddenly tasted like sand in Tunde's mouth. "Maybe it's her colleague. You know she works with many people." Kola didn't argue. He only sighed. "Be careful, my friend. City life changes people." That night, Tunde couldn't sleep. The image Kola painted haunted him. Still, he convinced himself Sarah loved him. She had to. He'd given her too much of himself to believe otherwise. A few weeks later, Sarah came home unexpectedly. She stepped out of a sleek Toyota car, her heels clicking against the dusty ground. Children ran after her, shouting, "Lawyer Sarah! Lawyer Sarah!" Tunde's heart leapt. He rushed out to greet her. "My lawyer. I've missed you," he said, grinning from ear to ear. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Tunde, we need to talk." Those words, soft, calm, but heavy, were enough to make his smile fade. They walked toward the mango tree where they used to sit years ago. The tree still stood strong, but the air around it felt colder. She took a deep breath. "Tunde, I appreciate everything you did for me. You helped me become who I am today. But things have changed." He frowned. "Changed how?" "Sarah, I did everything for you. You said." "I know what I said," she interrupted. "But I can't be with you anymore. I've moved forward. You and I, we're from two different worlds now." His chest tightened. "Sarah, don't say that. You're all I've got. I sold everything to make you who you are." She looked away, unable to meet his eyes. "I'm sorry. I can't build a future with someone who has nothing to offer." The words struck like a hammer. He wanted to speak, to remind her of the nights he stayed hungry so she could eat, of the mornings he rode miles to send her money, but his voice failed him. She walked away, leaving behind the scent of her perfume and the weight of her betrayal. Days turned into weeks. Tunde became a shadow of himself. He stopped walking, stopped eating, stopped living. The villagers whispered behind his back, calling him the fool who trained another man's wife. Still, he held on to the faint hope that she might change her mind. But fate wasn't done with him yet. One quiet morning, Tunde was preparing to wash his motorcycle when a police van drove into the village. 3 officers stepped out, their boots kicking up dust. "Tunde Adegbite," one of them called. "Yes, officer. I'm the one. You're under arrest for fraud and assault. A case has been filed against you by barrister Sarah Adeyemi." The world spun. He dropped the rag in his hand. Fraud. Assault. Sarah. No, there must be a mistake. The officers didn't answer. They handcuffed him and dragged him into the van as the villagers gathered, murmuring in shock. At the police station, Tunde sat behind cold bars, his mind in chaos. When Sarah finally appeared in her fine suit, she looked at him with the same professional detachment she gave her clients. "Sarah, why are you doing this to me?" he asked, his voice trembling. "You're not good for my image, Tunde," she said coldly. "You've been following me, harassing me, embarrassing me. I'm putting an end to it." Tears burned his eyes. "Harassing you? Sarah, I only came to beg you to talk to me. I did everything for you." She glanced at him briefly, her face empty of emotion. "That was your choice." Before he could reply, she turned and walked out, her heels echoing through the corridor like final verdicts. The sound stayed in his ears long after she was gone. Days became weeks. Tunde remained in custody. Kola came to visit him once, bringing bread and water. "My friend," Kola said quietly, "I'm trying to get you out. But the case is bad. She has evidence. She wants you gone." Tunde's voice was barely a whisper. "I just wanted to love her, Kola. That's all." Kola looked at him sadly. "Love can build or destroy, my brother. Yours destroyed you." Eventually, with Kola's help, Tunde was released on bail. But his reputation was ruined. No one wanted to associate with the man who was arrested by his own fiancée. He tried to rebuild his life, but it felt meaningless. He avoided people, avoided laughter, avoided the mango tree where everything began. One Sunday morning, as the church bells rang, Tunde heard music coming from the village square. Drums, singing, and ululation filled the air. Curious, he walked closer, thinking it was a community celebration. Then he saw her. Sarah. Dressed in a flowing white gown. Her smile bright, her hand held by another man. Tunde froze. His heart stopped. The groom turned, and it was Kola. For a moment, he thought it was a dream. But the cheers, the laughter, the flowers, they were all real. He stumbled backward, his vision blurring. The crowd was too busy celebrating to notice the broken man watching from afar. As the church bells tolled, he whispered under his breath, "I gave her my future, and she gave me my grave." He turned and walked away, his footsteps heavy on the red earth. Behind him, the music rose louder, drowning the sound of his heartbreak. That night, under the same sky that once watched their love bloom, Tunde sat alone outside his house, staring into the darkness. He said quietly, "Maybe love is not for people like me. Maybe it's just a story we tell ourselves to survive." The moon offered no comfort. The wind carried no answers. In that moment, Tunde learned the bitter truth: love without gratitude can destroy the giver more than the receiver. The months that followed were silent and slow. Tunde became a man the village pitied. He no longer rode his motorcycle for passengers. The once cheerful young man who dreamed under the mango tree now sat outside his house from morning till dusk, staring at nothing. People would greet him in passing, but he rarely answered. Mothers whispered to their daughters, "That's the man who trained a woman that forgot him." Children pointed and giggled. And still, he said nothing. His pain had gone beyond words. Sarah's wedding to Kola had been the talk of the town. They moved to the city after the ceremony, where she continued her work as a lawyer. To the outside world, they were the perfect couple, successful, beautiful, and blessed. But perfection has a short life when it is built on betrayal. At first, everything seemed fine. Sarah had her dream job, a new car, and a husband who admired her confidence. But Kola was not Tunde. He was sharp-tongued, impatient, and often reminded her that without him, she would be nothing socially. Whenever they argued, he would say, "You may have a degree, Sarah, but don't forget, I'm the one who put you in this house." The words stabbed her pride like knives. She tried to ignore them, to focus on work, to pretend her choices were right. But each night, when she lay beside Kola, she remembered the man who once worked himself to exhaustion just to send her school fees. The man she had humiliated. The man who believed in her before anyone else did. Guilt began to haunt her. One evening, while preparing dinner, she accidentally burned her hand. The pain was sharp, but what hurt more was the memory that flashed through her mind: Tunde's hands, rough and scarred from firewood, handing her the first money for her admission letter. She dropped the pot and sat on the kitchen floor, trembling. Kola came in, annoyed. "What's wrong with you? Can't you do a simple thing without drama?" Tears filled her eyes. "I'm fine," she whispered. But she wasn't. She wasn't fine the next day either, or the day after that. The more she tried to bury her past, the more it surfaced, whispering in her dreams, in the sound of the rain, in every quiet moment when the city went still. Meanwhile, back in the village, Tunde began to heal, slowly, quietly, like a tree growing after fire. He started attending church again, working small jobs, and fixing motorcycles for children learning to ride. He spoke little, but when he did, his words carried a calm weight that drew people in. One Sunday afternoon, an elderly man approached him. "Tunde, you've suffered much, my son. But don't let bitterness grow in your heart. Forgive, so you can live again." Tunde nodded weakly. "I've tried, Baba. It's hard." "Hard, yes," the man said. "But if you hold on to pain, you drink poison and expect another to die." Those words stayed with him. He began to pray, not for revenge, but for peace. And slowly, his heart began to lighten. Years passed. Sarah's marriage began to crumble. Kola started staying out late, coming home drunk, sometimes even violent. The respect that once colored their relationship faded completely. Rumors of his affair spread quickly, and soon, even her colleagues whispered behind her back. One night, after a particularly bad argument, Kola slapped her across the face. She stared at him in shock. "I left a man who loved me for this," she whispered. Kola laughed cruelly. "You left a fool for a man who can survive without you. That's life." That was the night she packed her things and left. She tried to rebuild herself alone, renting a small apartment and returning to her work. Outwardly, she remained composed, the powerful lawyer, the woman who conquered the odds. But inside, she was broken. Every victory in court felt hollow. Every success echoed with guilt. She began visiting the village again, quietly, dressed simply, without her usual confidence. Each time, she stopped by the mango tree, touched its bark, and remembered the promises once made there. One evening, unable to bear the weight of her conscience, she went to Tunde's house. The door was open. He was fixing a broken radio inside. His hair had started to gray at the edges, but his face looked peaceful, content in a way she no longer understood. When he saw her, he froze. The silence between them was heavy. For a moment, it felt as if the years had folded, bringing back all the laughter, all the dreams, all the pain. "Tunde," she said softly, her voice trembling, "I don't know where to begin." He looked at her calmly. "Then begin with the truth." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I destroyed everything good in my life. You believed in me when no one did. And I repaid you with betrayal. I don't expect forgiveness. I needed to say I'm sorry." Tunde set down the screwdriver, wiped his hands, and looked at her for a long time. Then he said quietly, "Sarah, I forgave you a long time ago. I had to, or I wouldn't still be standing." She swallowed hard. "You forgave me?" "Yes," he said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means I stopped bleeding." The wind blew softly through the window. Sarah broke down, crying into her palms. For the first time in years, she felt something inside her release, the weight she'd carried finally lifting. After a long silence, Tunde spoke again. "We both made choices, Sarah. I gave too much. You took too much. Maybe life was teaching us both balance." She nodded, unable to speak. As she stood to leave, she turned to him and said, "You were the best part of me, Tunde. I just realized it too late." He smiled sadly. "It's never too late to learn, Sarah. That's the only thing time can't steal." She left the house quietly, walking back toward the main road as the evening sun bathed the village in gold. The children's laughter echoed from afar. For the first time in years, she smiled, not because she was happy, but because she finally understood. Tunde watched her go until she disappeared behind the trees. Then he looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, God. The lesson is complete." That night, the stars shone brighter than usual over Ejoko. The village, once filled with whispers of betrayal, now carried a gentler peace. And somewhere in the heart of Lagos, a woman sat by her window, whispering prayers for the man who had once loved her beyond reason.